Hi, how you doing? Stephen Lee, System Unfiltered. Yeah, so came on. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. So yesterday was April Fools, and the New York City Council posted up a April Fools joke. I thought it was hilarious, to be honest with you. At first I thought it was hilarious, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, wait a second, are we you know, the end of the joke here? Like, are we the joke here? Where are they mocking us? Because we're the ones paying for congestion pricing now and stuff, and it's kind of like, hey, it's such a ridiculous idea that you guys fell for it and whatever. But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But whatever the case is, today I just got this post and I wanted to share this with you guys. So this is a post from Sal Greco. He's a retired. Oh, he's not retired. He was terminated from NYPD, wrongfully terminated because of dirty politics within the department. And he posted this up. So the gist of it is, there was a chief that was involved in an overtime scandal. I don't know if you guys were following the news, but there was a big overtime scandal where there was a female lieutenant and she was, getting a lot of overtime. So they threw her under the bus and they sacrificed her. And then she came out and, spoke about her experience and how, you know, back then Chief Madry was sexually assaulting her and, in exchange for the overtime and stuff. Um, Let me explain how overtime works in NYPD, right? So when you do overtime, it gets approved by multiple people, multiple supervisors. It goes up the chain and it gets reviewed and approved. Um, there's a lot of oversight on overtime. At least back when I was on the job, there's a lot of oversight on overtime, and you can't just go in and get over and do overtime and get away with it. So it's not like you know, there has to be a lot of people involved. So don't believe everything you read in or the optics that the NYPD is trying to paint here. She was definitely a victim, and she's definitely got deserves some compensation for it, whatever. But here's this thing. So this chief, Chris Morello, Chris Morello, um, was allegedly, according to Sal Greco here, heavily involved in that overtime scandal. He was one of the people that was heavily involved in it. And instead of being, forced to pay back the overtime or held accountable for it, right? That's what we're pushing for, accountability in the NYPD and more transparency, right? So instead of that happening, he actually got another position as a chief. He kept his rank and now he's transferred to the police academy as a chief, you know. It's kind of sad, right? Now, it says here with the chief of training, Martin Matarazzo, another party who frequent Consolfrito, let me try it again, Consolfrito and Sobro Garden to knowingly and gleefully associate with a known mob associate, criminal and other known criminals which warrants her termination. In charge over at the police academy, he is there in real oversight with these two leading the next generation NYPD cops coming out of the police academy. Is there any real oversight? Obviously not, right? Or if there is, they don't care. Um, Sorry, Sal, if I chopped up the consofrito. I know you're like the king of pronouncing that. You got to go watch his podcast. He's really good at pronouncing consofrito. I get a kick every time he says it. But these people are the police academy. Now, the police academy is not a small position. Okay, um, you're in charge. Think of it, right? You're in charge of new recruits, the new rank and file that's coming in, and you're supposed to be there leading as an example. You're like one of the first faces they see when they come on a job, right? And it leaves a lasting impression. Um, it will also like, I guess, make some of the recruits realize who they want to be, who they want to follow. You're like a role model, right? You're the first role model. And for a person like this to be within there um, as one of the first role models is not that great. So whatever the case is, that's the first thing I want to share. The second thing I wanted to share was this another post that he posted up. He posted up like 10 hours ago, and because he just sent me this stuff. He posted this up like 10 hours ago. And John Shell, retired chief, he was chief of the department, which is the highest chief that you could be within the NYPD. He's notorious for posting things on social media, stuff like this. I mean, like on social media. I don't know if he's drunk texting or whatever, because allegedly the rumor is that he's a heavy drinker and drinks a lot. But whatever the case is, he goes, Big Sal, long time. Not sure if you're aware, not me. Some of my ex colleagues from the 6-0, which is the 6-0 precinct, is Korean, deem you the coward of Korean. No show for 85s. 85s is the radio code that us NYPD cops use for police emergency. Police needs assistance. There's also 1013, which is a more serious one. And basically scared. Anyway, I know this comment caught me off guard. I don't know, it's a mistext. Anyway, my saying, you're fired. All those 511 arrests for nothing. 511 arrests are suspended licenses. Right? It's kind of like a cheap shot at Sal saying that he does nothing but like 511 arrests. Be well, my friend. Great talk. He's obviously being sarcastic in the end. But this kind of mentality that's going on. This is our leadership within NYPD. This is the same leadership that was in charge when I was facing my department charges and I was arrested. The previous leadership, the mentality is not so far off, right? Um, but this is the leadership. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up was because people were asking me, how can they do this to you? Or I can't believe the NYPD done this to you. Or some people are like, oh, you're a rat. You betrayed your rank and file and stuff like that. No, I kept my oath. I when I take an oath, I'm serious about it. To me, that it meant something. And don't get me wrong, I love my fellow cops. I loved it. When I was out there doing my work and stuff like that, you might hear the fire engine outside. It's a fire truck blasting its sirens. I don't know if you can hear it, but yeah, wait for that to pass. So, anyways, the cost of living in the city. So that's the kind of mentality that you have within the NYPD, right? And that's the kind of leadership that you have. So is it really a surprise that they terminated me for, exposing corruption and stuff like that? And I don't want people to get the wrong idea where they think that I'm disgruntled, I hate police now, and I'm anti NYPD, anti cop. I'm not. I love my fellow cops. The people I work with in the 6-7, magnificent people, great people, awesome people. I was ready to lay my life down on the line for them. I would take a bullet for them. They were true brothers and sisters at arms, and a real family. I still talk to most of them. And they support what I did. They think I did the right thing also. But, some people that worked in 109 also, great people, awesome people, right? But, you know, there were a lot of bad cops too. All right. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-police and stuff like that. I love the cops. I love the cops that go in and do their job and, want to go home, want to, protect justice and protect the public and protect the community and stuff like that. Like the good cops and stuff. I love them. I love them. I love them all. And I don't want people to think that I'm one of those people that just constantly complain about the NYPD, right? But I am going to hold people accountable. I am going to continue to speak out and talk about things like this, especially as an Asian officer. All right. So I'm Chinese. I'm first generation here. My parents were immigrants. They migrated from immigrated from Taiwan, came here the legal way, went through the process and stuff like that in the 70s. And, I grew up here in New York City and I was born and raised in Brooklyn and Flatbush. I grew up in a beautiful community in Flatbush and I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by, all different types of ethnicities and we all get along and we still talk to this day. Um, I do live in Queens now, Flushing, and I love the people here too. So, I spent half my life in Brooklyn. I spent half my life in Queens, and I love New York City, right? But for us Asians, as I was saying, we hold it's hard for us. We hold a stigma of being the model minority. Some people call us white adjacent. I heard that during COVID or something like that, and it makes no sense to me. We're not white. We're not even close to being white. And for Asians who think they're white, we're not. They're never gonna see us that way. Okay. We are a minority. We are close to the black and black culture and um the Spanish culture more than we are to the white culture. But what I do want to say is we get the short end of the stick a lot. And I just want to be on here, to make sure to be able to share my platform and advocate for fellow Asians, especially because the black community have their advocates and a lot of people speaking out for them. White community has a lot of people speaking out for them and their advocates. Spanish community are fortunate enough to be included with the blacks, but us Asians, we get attacked from both sides, right? We get victimized and attacked from the black community a lot. Um, when it comes to legal side and stuff like that, and trying to get our fair share of rights and stuff, we get the short end of the stick from the left, from the whites. And when things happen in our community and we need people to speak out for us and stuff like that, nobody comes out, and it's unfortunate. It's even from fellow Asians who out there who are protesting all the time and out there for the black community protesting and out there for the Spanish community protesting, out there for the white communities protesting. They seldom come out and protest for their own community. So I want to be that guy to, speak out for everybody in the Asian community. So if you have anything that you want me to highlight or speak about, feel free to reach out to me or, come on the show or whatever, and we'll talk about it and we'll highlight your issues. But yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to come on and show you that piece of what the upper echelon looks like in the NYPD, what the leadership looks like. All right, till next time. Peace, love.